stepped off the airplane, I felt like I was stepping into another world. Everything I encountered was unique, especially from my perspective as a tree planter. The vast emptiness of the Icelandic landscape was breathtaking. But what I soon found out was that this natural but rugged beauty was actually a man-made phenomenon and devoid of life. However, I knew I was going to meet some committed tree planters and be inspired with their success stories. Many years of felling trees rendered the landscape susceptible to erosion from the unrelenting winds. Unfortunately, all throughout Iceland, this was the case. And currently, the poor soil conditions compound the difficulties that the tree planters face while attempting to resurrect the Icelandic forests. For anything to grow in this environment would take some creative solutions. I was to discover just that.
My name is Árni Bragason. I'm the director for the Soil Conservation Service. This experiment, which is several 1 hectare plots with different methods to help us, and from this plot we can learn most from the nature. And then we have another thing here, which is this invasive lupine, which is nitrogen fixing, and it's giving nitrogen to the trees.
Okay.
It fosters or helps the trees growing, and when we look at and compare birch trees growing with lupine and without, we have it in other plots here, then we see a huge difference. These fertilizers, this nitrogen coming from the nitrogen fixing plant is really helping or speeding up. It's a blessing, but it's also threatening our most fragile ecosystems.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So on the other side, it's dry. On this side, more moist, and that encourages more growth. The soil I'm standing on is really spongy, and it's been building up and regenerating. What I want to do is kind of dig down a little bit and see what's there. Really tangled. Man, look at that. Super dark earth. Incredible. Just incredible. That was not placed here by people. That came from nature. This is creating what you said was a microclimate. And so with the moss,
There was a controversial lupine. This pretty blue flowering plant was imported from Alaska for a very specific reason. This non-native has the ability to make nitrogen available in the soil, significantly benefiting nearby plants. Despite my preference for native plants in my own plantings, witnessing the struggles of reforesting Iceland has given me a newfound appreciation for the accepted role of the lupine, even if it's a non-native species.
This is the lupine. This purple flower, it is a nitrogen fixer which is not native to Iceland, but was imported in 1945, if I remember correctly. It originates from Alaska, and it really does wonders in these kind of conditions where you have these heavily eroded areas where there's really no vegetation, or the vegetation has disappeared. I'm Einar Jónsson, and I'm a project manager at the Icelandic Forestry Association.
so erosion looks like to be a problem here in Iceland. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think erosion is the biggest environmental challenge that we are facing in Iceland and have been for many decades. You can see in the landscape all around how much vegetation has disappeared and how much soil. You see these patches of green areas where there's still some vegetation left, but all around is just gravel and rocks.
It's quite interesting when you know that the estimations of forest cover in Iceland during the settlement more than 1,000 years ago was around 25% to 40% forest cover here, and now we've probably reached 2%. I'm Elisabeth Bernhardt, and I'm a project manager at the Icelandic Forest Association and educated anthropologist. We celebrated the first tree to reach 30 meters last year.
Really?
Down south.
Oh,
Yeah.
from the volunteers or?
No, in Iceland.
Oh, in all of Iceland.
In all of Iceland, yeah.
Wow.
We have a joke, I mean, there was a joke in Iceland that if you're lost in a forest, you just need to stand up and you will find your way. But in some cases, it's not the case anymore, because we actually have some real woodland forest with, you know, like several meters high trees. So we like to say that this joke is not very accurate anymore.
This was definitely a foreign concept for me. I was halted in my tracks. Actually, Elizabeth summed it up well when she said that I'd experienced what she referred to as tree culture from an early age. Not everybody does. Now that was an eye-opener. What does exist in Iceland is sheep culture, which has existed for centuries. Sheep have been an important part of survival in Iceland. Traditionally, farmers would just let their sheep graze without fencing them in, and they would roam for miles. Because sheep roamed everywhere, they would eat any tree seedling that attempted to grow.
It's a very big and difficult issue, this thing between sheep and trees, or between foresters and sheep farmers. But there are some solutions that have been found to try to form some sort of a cohabitation. I wouldn't say symbiosis yet, but I would say cohabitation is...
Are farmers being told to fence their sheep in? That must cause some tension.
Sheep is the holy cow in Iceland.
So we're the ones that have to fence the areas where we plant.
And if a sheep enters our land and eats our, whatever we're growing, whether it's our potatoes or our trees, then it's our fault. This is what we like to reclaim. Get the land back, get back something green, get back the trees, and that's what we are working for.
I learned that the Icelandic tree planters had just celebrated a huge victory. They had just passed the 2% canopy mark for the country, which was significant because it was up from 0.5% not too long ago.
So the trees are in here?
They're in here.
All right. Wow, look at them all. They're amazing. Soon they're going to have a new home. It's planting time.
Hey Don, do you want to try?
Oh, of course I do.
All right.
So this is the pata
This is a potiputki
patiputki.
that was made in Finland, and that's the tool we use to plant trees.
Okay, here goes nothing.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Iceland was wooded or forested for thousands of years. No humans. There were no grazing animals apart from geese and other birds. And until Iceland was suddenly colonized and its population expanded very suddenly and cutting down all the trees, they were deforesting. They had all their sheep and cows and pigs and whatnot. And then over the centuries, you had cut down all the trees, you had caused soil erosion going on, and then we're up against some animosity because there are those who claim that trees are bad for the Icelandic environment because they block the view to the mountains or something. They have become convinced that trees are bad for tourism. There's always something new coming up here.
My name is Aðalsteinn Sigurgeirsson. I
I'm a forester and forest geneticist by training, but I currently work as the Deputy Director of the Icelandic Forest Service. And during my teenage years, I developed a certain passion for planting trees and growing trees. And it's stayed on. It's become almost a lifelong obsession to see more trees grow in this very non-forested region of the world. And I feel that trees are necessary in this country just like everywhere else in the world. Tree planting is not necessarily easy. It takes all kinds of, hurdles to overcome.
Yeah, boy, do I know that.
Economic, social, oh God. This particular stream here comes from a spring just a little south of here, just comes out of the mountain. And actually part of that water is taken directly from the spring and bottled on to plastic bottles and exported to the US. The water is filtered in a way just through the rock and soil and then creeps into probably some crevice somewhere underground and then comes up as a bubbling spring of fresh water from somewhere. That's where this is coming from.
Is the word riparian zone used in Iceland?
Not very much, actually. It's not needing that much, riparian zones to clean up the, nutrients that may be in the water. I would drink that without hesitation.
Oh, this is drinkable?
This is drinkable, yeah.
Well, mind if I?
Please do.
Hey, all right.
No skin off my nose.
Icelandic water.
I planted this in 1989, these pines. These are lodgepole pines from Alaska. These are actually starting to get quite healthy. And it has a little bit of nitrogen fixing ability of itself. The leaves are fresh there. Have a very special flavor to it. I've become kind of a slave of my own private project. All my free time goes into this project to run this small woodland.
In order to create forest in Iceland, it's critical to have people like Athelsted, who are willing to dedicate their entire life and put all of their passion into reforestation. He was able to demonstrate to the Icelanders that it's not only possible for trees to grow, but for forests to thrive. To me, seeing the daunting task of reforesting such an area would be overwhelming. But not to the Icelanders. They just keep going, demonstrating yet again the grit and determination they possess. Next up, we travel to Guatemala, where tree planters applied Mayan ancestral knowledge and created a forest that replenishes groundwater for the local villagers.